wrong, right? So you will be my backup girl today.
Sure. Happy to be your backup girl. Absolutely.
Oh, well, that's good. Well, she's 58, so I'm going to start to log in here
Sure.
and make sure that I get on the right page today.
I've done that a few times. I've gone live on the completely wrong page and you
Yeah.
realize like 5 minutes into talking, like, oh my God.
And share to your page. Yeah, share to your page, hot, and go live. We are going live now.
Okay.
I'm just gonna check on that page. So we are connecting there. And there we are. Then I can shut that page down. So, hello everyone, and welcome to Heart with Eva and Emmy Mutale. Is it Mutale?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, welcome here. And
thank you.
Thank you for doing this. So, we are going to kick off this first day by a small introduction about who you are and how I came across the information about you. And it was last year during the 2020, as I refer to the year of everything that happens, it was 2020. And in my own search for my feminine aspect within myself, and I got across Return to the Priestess, and you were one of the speakers there. Priestess, goddess, and healer. And you have such a lovely meditation that I accessed last year. And your voice when you start talking is so hypnotizing and comforting and really open up a lot of activation portals within myself. So when I started to do this, I got you in the back of my mind that I wanted to pop the question to you, and here you are. So once again, welcome, 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 Emmy.
Thank you so much. It's a blessing to be here with you.
Thank you. So do you want to talk, give a short presentation about who you are? Because you are not a European and I'm in Sweden, and you are all the way down in South Africa.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Well, I am Finnish originally, so we share very similar roots in terms of our upbringing coming from the north of Europe. Yeah. But I have lived away from Finland most of my life, and I'm currently based in Zambia in Southern Africa, and just traveling. I'm traveling in South Africa at the moment, so that's why I'm not at home. Yes, so I've been very blessed to have this international upbringing, and I've lived in many different countries already as a child or youth. And then as part of my career that I built for the past 20 years or so, I've studied anthropology and I've studied human rights as subjects, and really have built a career in development aid, focusing on women's rights and child rights, leadership and strategic planning and so on. And to a certain extent, I'm still involved in that work as well, mainly in Zambia and also in the region, supporting especially non-governmental organizations as they improve their organizational skills and their leadership and so on. But that's just one part of the story. The other part is my passion that's been there ever since I was a little girl, my love of the healing arts. And as I was building my career in development aid, I always had this wish and this yearning to work full time in the healing arts as well. And I started meditating at quite an early age as a teenager, and started learning various kinds of healing modalities in my early 20s. And a couple of years ago, took a complete leap of faith and decided to go pretty much full time into the healing and transformation work that I now do.
Yeah.
And I am an intuitive healer. I am an energy medicine practitioner as well, and a shamanic womb priestess.
Yeah.
So my work really revolves around supporting, especially women,
Mm,
to tap into the innate feminine wisdom that we all carry deep within us, that ancient feminine wisdom,
mm,
us learning to love ourselves exactly the way we are, and stepping into what I call our sacred feminine power,
mm,
which is all about us no longer silencing our voices, no longer making ourselves small,
mm.
and truly stepping onto our soul path so that we can share the gifts that we've been born into
Yeah.
this lifetime with the world.
So important these days, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
So you've been doing this for quite a long time now. And when I was browsing around on your page, I came across that something happened to you, or I shouldn't say happened to you, but you wrote it so beautiful on your page, on your feminine revered page.
Mm-hmm.
And that was this description that you have tried to fit into a masculine paradigm, and you built your
Mm-hmm.
career, and you were focusing on all these external recognition and achievements, and
Mm.
how you got disconnected from the feminine essence. And one day you had enough.
Mm.
So what
Yeah.
happened there? Because there must have been a trigger that made you go full into this feminine blossom of yourself.
Yeah, in many ways, absolutely.
Mm,
I was at the time working for a UN agency that I respected very much at the time, and was kind of living my dream life. We were living on the island of Zanzibar, which is, of course, this beautiful, magical place in many ways. And I was in my dream job in many ways. I
mm,
had two small kids, both of whom were under 2 years old at that time, and I was very focused on building my career. I wanted to, climb the career ladder and led my life from a very masculine angle, looking for um, increasingly more difficult assignments,
mm,
um, taking on more and more responsibilities, and really, looking to achieve more and more and more, and was of course loving it at work. But at the same time, I look at myself now as a mother, as a wife, and I was turning into an absolute wreck at home. My daughter at the time was still breastfeeding and waking up multiple times at night, so I wasn't sleeping very much. I would go to work in the morning, I would do a full day at work, and then come home to two small kids who were both, of course, wanting to spend time with mommy as well. And
yeah, of course.
I completely just, ignored the signs of exhaustion. I ignored the signs from my body that I was becoming, more and more tired, more and more disconnected from my true self, more and more grumpy and impatient
Mm,
with my family, and also just completely ignoring my feminine side, the
yeah.
need to take a step back, the need to rest, the need to just be and sway and align and just be in the
Mm,
present moment. That just didn't really exist for me. And it literally got to a point, and this is now, after months and months of just pushing myself, it got to a point where I literally one day found myself sitting in a heap on the bathroom floor. And
oh,
I had just, shouted at my babies, cursed at my husband, told him to leave the house. And I was at the darkest point that I probably have been or had been for a very, very long time,
yeah.
and was literally looking for a permanent way out. That is how low I was at that point. And at the same time, in that low point, in that darkest moment, I also felt this sudden shifting inside my heart, in my chest. And I couldn't quite put my finger on it at the time, but there was something there that was stirring,
Mm,
something that told me subconsciously that I was going to be okay. And
ah,
it wasn't an
Oh my
easy
God, I got
journey.
shivers all over my body now. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course it didn't happen overnight, and it took quite a long time from that point still. But that was kind of like the point where I started to get back on my spiritual path. You know, I'd been very intrigued and loving the spiritual path before I got heavily involved in my career,
Mm,
and had kind of forgotten about all of that. And then this was the point where I realized that I had completely lost that connection. I had
yeah.
lost my connection to my inner self, my truth as well.
Yeah.
And then slowly started to become involved again in the healing arts and working with different teachers to bring me back onto the path.
Yeah.
And yeah, the rest is like history.
Rest is history. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard this about, not about, but I heard a lot of people has been experienced almost the same thing. You know, they
Mm.
had the spiritual path before as a young and when they were growing up, teenager and young adults, and then life
Yeah.
came on with all this expectation that you are supposed to be out there and
Mhm.
living in this, if I use the masculine world.
Mhm.
um, and many of us are returning back to ourselves, and like is now it's enough. We are not want to be a part of that person that I was before. And some people like yourself had a really rough time to
Mhm.
experience that um, alarm clock, like listen to your body and step into your own power again, or reclaim
Mhm.
your power.
Yes.
And I think it's necessary for us to hit that wall of being at the bottom of no bottom, no bottom, bottom, bottom,
Bottom. Yes.
bottom. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, just to, because how would we ever recognize what other people are going through if you haven't experienced something like it yourself? So
Mm.
there's a strength awakening too, so to speak, because you are getting stronger when you are having a lot of earlier, what would you call it, like resistance from the other world, outer world.
Mm.
So do you follow my mind there?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what I was wondering, because you are having a course that is about feminine wounds, right? Is that something that was sprung from this experience that you had, or how did you get into that?
Mm. Yeah, so the five core feminine wounds is what I call my signature body of work now. And it certainly has its foundation in those deep initiations that I have gone through myself. And it's based on my own life and soul experiences, but also the experiences of my clients all around the world. And it really is, as you said earlier, reclaiming our feminine power. And I got into that. I had already studied quite a few different healing methods at that point and was seeing clients using the methods that I had learned. But my real kind of like feminine awakening came a few years ago when I started to study womb awakening, womb shamanic practices.
Oh,
And I was doing that through the Fountain of Life with Seren and Azra Bertrand, who are beloved teachers of mine. And then that was like a 9-month online shamanic apprenticeship. And then I followed that up with a teacher training program with Angie Twidell of Sanctuary Sophia as well afterwards. And that was for me, it literally felt like the missing piece had landed.
mm,
Reconnecting with my womb space, my sacred cauldron of wisdom and power, and starting to reclaim the knowing deep
mm,
within my womb space, that very sacred feminine knowing, that feminine essence.
mm.
And that really just opened up so many portals, so many doors for me on so many
Ah,
different levels. And
I can totally
that is,
recognize that for myself, from my
yeah.
from my own experience. I can recognize that totally.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that really just kind of helped me to understand how deeply I had been disconnected
Mm.
from my feminine essence for such a long time. And, you know, I had to go through that burnout that I described. And I actually had to go through a similar experience twice more on my life path to really understand, to really get the message and like start to honor myself, start to honor my body and really listen to the messages and the whispers from my body, from my womb space. And take a completely different approach to my work as well. An
Yeah.
approach that honored me first and foremost, because if my cup isn't full, I cannot help others either.
No.
So it really coming away from this notion that self-care and self-love are selfish or are obnoxious or something that we shouldn't be engaging in at all, and
Mm.
understanding that at a very deep level you are the most precious thing to yourself,
Yeah, we
and the
are.
more you learn to love yourself, the more you can spread that love out to others as well.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. And sometimes I be so mad at myself because this with boundaries, I was learning boundaries last year, 2020. Once again, 2020 was the year where my feminine goddess was waking up.
Mm,
And I actually started to place boundaries about around myself and what I'm supposed to do and not supposed to do, and break down these barriers that I have built up. And I still make those mistakes to accept too much and think that I can handle more than I probably can. um,
mm,
but it's getting easier and easier to step into my own power again, but it is a hard experience to learn, and to have someone that helps you through that way, like you are doing with your courses, that is a true blessing, because you
mm.
actually need it. Sometimes you need someone to you know step into your power again, think about what you are doing, and in a
Yeah.
loving way and supportive way, of course. We
Mm.
don't want to go into this dominant structure again, but yeah, we need someone to do that. So, but that is not all that you are doing, because I'm a little bit curious about this uh, healing that you are doing. You are doing this energetic healing.
Mhm.
Mm? Will you talk about that for a bit?
Absolutely, sure. I would love to. Yeah. So the healing and transformation work that I do is really based on the belief that I have that when women reconnect to that sacred feminine wisdom,
Mhm.
when they fall in love with themselves exactly the way they are, and when they step into their sacred feminine power, our world also heals. And we will be able to support that paradigm shift from the patriarchal paradigm towards unity consciousness and the what we often call the new world or the new earth.
Mm.
And in my healing work, it is very intuitive. So sometimes I find it difficult to describe exactly what happens, but I've been very blessed to learn various healing modalities that blend together beautifully, and I allow my intuition to guide me and allow what it really, I would say, focuses on is getting to the root cause of what we are experiencing now in our lives. So looking at the trauma that we might have gone through, whether it's in early childhood or whether it's in a previous lifetime, whether it's something that's coming through the lineage, whether it's from our mothers, grandmothers or great grandmothers, or from the father's side, and then also looking at the collective experiences of women all around the world,
Mm.
the suffering and the pain and the suppression and the oppression that women have gone through for centuries
Mm.
still exists energetically in the matrix around that, or in the energy field around us.
Sure.
And all of us, by virtue of us having been born into as women into in this lifetime,
Mm.
are holding on to certain aspects of these wounds.
Mm.
So my work really focuses on supporting women to heal these wounds at a very deep cellular level,
Mm.
and finding the gifts and the treasures that these wounds also contain. Because our wounds are not just these heavy, dark, shadowy places, they are also portals into healing. They're portals into incredible wisdom, incredible truths and insights as well.
Mm.
So I take women on journeys of healing and transformation where we really go deep and start to understand what it is that initially caused the symptoms that we are having at the moment. So
Mm.
let's say that you are unable to speak your truth. You keep silencing yourself. Where is this originally coming from?
Yeah.
Is it something to do with the sister wound, which would be about women constantly pushing each other down rather than lifting each other up? And there's this need to compare and criticize and judge each other. And where is this coming from in your own particular experience?
Mm.
Is it something
I
that
was
you've
just thinking
experienced?
that, what does it come
Yeah.
from? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it could, again, be something that you've experienced in this lifetime, often in early childhood, that stayed with you, and you might not even consciously be aware of it.
Mm.
Or it could be a past life issue. Just think about the burning times, the witch hunts,
Mm.
and the kind of wounding that has left behind for so many of us around betrayal, around denouncing each other,
Mm.
around having to do something like that in order to survive yourself.
Yeah.
Imagine how deep those kinds of wounds go within our cellular bodies.
Mm.
It could be, again, from the lineage. It could be something that's been passed down generation to generation in your
Yeah.
particular lineage. Or it could be just the collective experience of the women all around the
Mm.
world.
Because we are affected by so many, many things. And when
Sure.
you are describing it and you start to sort it out, it's like we have a lot of purging to do, both
Mm.
tracking down our own lineage and this collective. I actually thought that we were working through the collective purging last year or the couple of years before. And
Mm.
I felt such a relief when we went into 2021 that it is over, just to find out that it's not over. We are still purging. So, and that is collective. But a lot of people are working with their own shadow work. And
Mm.
that was a profound bit for me last year to actually realize that you have to work through your own background and shadow
Mm.
work to move forward. I have never looked at it that way. So,
Yeah. Absolutely. And it can feel really scary and it can feel really uncomfortable, but going into the shadows and working through those wounds is really the only way to get to the other side of it. The
yeah,
beautiful thing at the moment, though, is because of all the energies on our planet and because of all the light that is shining down onto planet Earth from legions of light all around us, that healing work doesn't have to be a long, winding, terribly painful process. What I'm noticing with myself and also with my clients
mm,
is that that healing can happen very, very quickly nowadays.
yeah,
And, what in the past might have taken quite a few sessions to work through can absolutely be resolved in one or two sessions or even faster. And sometimes it literally is just, you know, activating new codes or in our bodies, and that shifts us already over to a completely different reality. And sometimes we do need to do the work
yeah,
of looking into the wounds and healing the wounds, healing the little ones that went through those traumatic experiences and supporting them. Because the thing is that, let's say that you were at school as a 7-year-old and a teacher yelled at you, calling you a bad girl. You may well have taken on the belief from that incident that you indeed are a bad girl.
mm,
And then you would start experiencing events and attract people into your life who are reinforcing that belief for you until you actually break the pattern.
mm,
And the only way to really break the pattern is not just by talking about it, as much as that can help, but cognitive shifts and the talking alone is not yet addressing the energetic imprint
no,
of that wound. So it's important to go within and work with somebody who's been trained with more um, energy focused practices that really allow you to go deep within into the cellular structure
yeah,
and change those beliefs at that level so that you are then able to really shift gears in a major way
Yeah.
and just kind of step into a bigger place of power.
Yeah. I was just thinking that, that many times that you are going through something and you have a mentor, because that was a true blessing last year with all of you divine people that spoke up on the Return to Priestess, that you became such a mentors for a lot of us, to listen to and be guided through this, um, not only the event, because you take what you are learning with you. So during the whole summer and into the autumn, you still had your guidance with you, with me. I'm talking for myself, but I know that you have affected a lot of people. And what you are talking about now, that then it came to my mind that a lot of times when people are talking, they are healing, and the wound could actually be healed, but the repetitive paradigms in your head that you should be a victim of what happened, or not letting go of what it is something that defines you in the now. So you touch a very, very good thing there. You need to let go of that, and you need to revalue and get new codes, so to speak, for how to think, recalibrate. You want to say
Recalibrate, recalibrate.
recalibrate
Yeah,
your brain.
yeah, absolutely. It's actually, we are rewiring
Yeah,
our brain pathways by doing this work.
yeah,
And it is so, so very important to do that, because we are all energy beings,
yeah.
and we kind of get stuck in the kind of beliefs that we take on about ourselves.
Mm,
And those beliefs are very much inside our bodies.
mm,
And to be able to then release those beliefs and change them into more empowering ones, what you're literally doing is you are rewiring your brain. You're changing the pathways, you're
mm,
changing the beliefs that you've taken on.
yeah,
And that is where you really start to see the ripple effects
yeah,
of the healing. And it's not anyone's fault per se. It's not our fault that we hold on to these wounds and carry them. It is part of the patriarchal programming and conditioning that we have been born into.
yeah,
And certain cultural, societal paradigms that come to us with specific kinds of beliefs and
mm,
specific kinds of expectations. And that is what we learn from a very, very early age. And
yeah,
that is what we follow subconsciously.
mm,
But when the awareness comes in, when we start to awake to the reality, to the depth of the conditioning,
mhm,
that's when the real work really begins. And you start to consciously do the healing work, whether you do it on your own or you do it with the support of a practitioner.
yeah,
That you are changing your brain waves, you're changing your whole energetic structure by that.
yeah,
And when you do that, you're not just doing the healing for yourself, you're doing it for the past generations, you're doing it for the future generations, and you're doing it for the collective. And
yeah.
that's why it's so powerful and important for all of us to be courageous enough to go there.
Both powerful and important. And that
Mm.
raises the next question. If you, because you are working with the wounds, and you're working with a lot of women mostly, so are you've been, even if you have been doing this for quite a long time now, are you still meeting resistance from the society around that the feminine is awakened? Because you have been in this, so you know how to handle it pretty more than average people may do.
Mm.
But I can see that it's intimidating for a lot of patriarch, you know, paradigms. Oh, no, I can't
Patriarchal
talk.
paradigm. Yeah,
Patriarchal paradigms. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
So I can see that it's pretty intimidating to have strong women rising everywhere on earth and
Mm.
reclaiming their own feminine power within. And so you as a practitioner, are you feeling that you have to work harder with holding boundaries around yourself and holding the space for those women you are working with, or how do you
I mean,
feel?
especially at the moment. I mean, with since 20, it's been going on for a while now, but we're really seeing it now. We're smack in the middle of it now.
Yeah.
The kind of collapse of the systems and structures that we have been living with for many, 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 many years.
Mm,
And of course, there's going to be a lot of people, both men and women, who are going to be scared by that and feel threatened by that, because it is a real threat to their power, to the kind of power that they have always held.
mm,
And I'm feeling it even more on the collective energetic level, and having to really ground myself even more than before, and really rooting into love, which is absolutely the most important thing to do at the moment. Rooting into our own bodies, rooting into Mother Earth,
mm,
and rooting into love as the foundation of the world that we are wanting to birth and go towards. But
yeah.
not everybody wants that. Not everybody wants to go there. So there is absolutely huge amounts of resistance globally
So you
around
are
that at the
noticing
moment.
that. You are noticing that.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, how does that make you feel? Because you know that you are right, you know that you are doing a good thing, and you're seeing the results in those persons you are working with. So does it make you, you know, want to do even more, or how do you feel? How do you handle it?
Mm.
How do you balance it?
Yeah. Well, for me, it gives it even more significance.
Oh,
This is the time when people like you and me, people who are doing healing work, who are not afraid to step into that shadow world, who are committed to the path of the divine feminine, we are needed more than ever.
yeah,
And it can feel, at times, it can feel daunting, especially when we are experiencing these global restrictions at the moment, and these absolute taking away of our fundamental freedoms in many ways, on many levels. And it makes me both angry and ready to step up on the barricades even
yeah,
more. It's almost like we have this battle, and this is going to sound very cliche, but this battle between good and evil going on at the moment,
yeah, I
on our
totally
planet
agree.
and beyond. And we are all part of that. And we kind of, now at this point, we kind of have to, whether we do it consciously or subconsciously, we are kind of choosing sides. And
Yeah,
we're deciding what we are going to be on as we progress, as we move forward
yeah,
towards the new earth. So for me, it really is like a clarion call. These are the times that we were born to live through. This is
yeah,
what all the work we've done in this lifetime and in previous lifetimes has prepared us for. And I have chills every time I talk about this, but
yeah,
it truly is the time.
yeah.
And what an incredible time to have been born into as well.
The clarion call, as you said, is a significant sign, because a lot of people, including myself, has actually heard the call, so it's real and it's happening. And as you said, a lot of things that you have been through in this life and in other lives are leading up to this moment where you are supposed to hold. And I was thinking about myself when I started to talk, that I was searching for my feminine divine last year, and people automatically assume that I was supposed to wear a dress and be more feminine like, and so. But you lift up there's a warrior inside that you have to actually let forward, the warrior to protect the feminine within yourself, to hold those boundaries and stepping out there in the world. And you can be feminine is such a broad theme,
Yeah.
and it is not like it is, but there's a stereotype. A lot of people think like feminine means you're so vulnerable and timid and you know um, plain in many ways, but feminine is colorful and powerful, and you
Mm.
have to step into those warrior energies to protect yourself, to hold those space around yourself, the space of light around yourself and your family. So it is a tough work. It is a tough work. And sometimes it's difficult to balance it too, of course, but it's totally worth it.
Absolutely. And we are human beings after all. So we are going to be facing those challenges and those difficulties. And I absolutely have dipped into fear myself in the past year and a half. And I absolutely have, gone to the bottom thinking like, oh my God, does any of this make any sense anymore? And then you just, you every time you rise up again and you keep moving, you keep showing up, you keep doing your work.
Yeah.
And the feminine, I mean, you talked about it beautifully already. But it absolutely is that balance between the Kali energy, the warrior, the fierceless fighter when she needs to be, that powerful, hugely powerful creatrix, with power to give life. And then you've got the beautiful, soft, flowing feminine as well. And they exist in balance, both within ourselves, both within women, but also within men. And I think that's another important part of the rise of the divine feminine, that it is not just about women reclaiming their power.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's also about men rediscovering and remembering that they also have feminine and masculine energies inside of themselves. And the more we learn to revere the feminine again and really understand the power, not even understand, but learn to respect the power and come back to what the ancients knew, that women are incredibly powerful. And because of our ability and capacity to actually birth and nurture new life through our wombs, we are directly connected to the divine mother. We are directly connected to the cycles of life. And that power was taken away from us over centuries through patriarchy, through centuries of oppression and suppression, and making us think that we are weak, that our emotions are not good, and that we simply don't have what it takes to be leaders, to go through specific kinds of assignments and jobs because we're women. Whereas in reality, we are incredibly powerful. We are incredibly nurturing and nourishing. We are incredibly soft and assertive at the same time. And the masculine in there is there to protect us and support us and provide us this beautiful container where we feel safe to unleash that wild, beautiful, powerful feminine.
That was powerful interpreted, and you put it out there so well. Yeah, definitely, because we are both feminine and masculine within, and we are there to coexist together. And just being a feminine, you can also be a masculine energy within yourself, and vice versa. So, but you said it so much better than I did, so thank you for that. But it's also very interesting, I think, that we are so much going back to our roots. We are following a step to our ancestors, step back in time, reclaiming the power and actually have this love and healing for what happened, and respect and acknowledge them. And we are moving into a new era of time, a conscious race of consciousness, and we are moving forward, whether we like it or not, because we are moving forward. And the cycle is, so to speak, completing itself, because we are at the same time pulling the history up to date, but we are, once again, we are rewiring the energy, the circle, and into a new, the old into a new energy to be able to move forward. So
absolutely, yes. And the new energy is very much about the balance between the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine, and the two dancing together or making love together in a way that allows us to live up to our fullest potential. And that fullest potential, again, is grounded in love.
Yeah, it is. Love is the true source essence of everything that is that we are doing. Love is the core, so to speak. I know that you are working all over the world. You have clients all over the world, and you are seen all over the world. And internet is a beautiful thing to be on in those times. And you're having online programs.
Hmm.
Do you want to talk about those? What are you presenting on your website there? Online programs, immerse yourself in divine feminine practice with Sisters on Path. Is that
Hmm.
your priestess path that you're having online, or
It brings the priestess work into it, but you can work with me online, either one-on-one, in which case I will take you through a longer healing and transformation journey where we would work with the wounds that you have in this lifetime, and really learn to step back into that sacred feminine power of yours.
Mm,
Um, and that is very in-depth one-on-one healing work where it is all tailored to your unique life and soul experiences. And we get to work with whatever it is that is manifesting for you, whilst at the same time I'm holding that container of the sacred feminine, and also taking you through various kinds of practices that you can continue to do beyond the program as well, to really remain connected to the sacred feminine. So
mm,
that is when you want to do really, really in-depth healing work with me one-on-one. Then I also have a group program, which is called Embody Your Sacred Feminine Power, the Way of the Womb. And here, the womb work is really the foundation of everything that we do.
mm,
And the group program is about supporting women to reconnect with their wombs, really tap into the wisdom and the power, the healing potential within their own womb spaces, and releasing a lot of the self-worth wounds that many of us carry, and learning to love ourselves exactly the way we are. But
mm,
it also takes you into the realms of abundance and manifestation, and learning to really bring about and birth the kind of world you want for yourself and for the collective. So
yeah,
it really is a beautiful journey that you go on with me for 8 weeks with a beautiful group of women. And it also works on the sister wound, because you actually become a beautiful container within this program, and you start to support yourself,
mm,
support each other, sorry,
mm.
in that container as well.
Well, you
So
can support yourself because you
you,
are, yeah.
absolutely,
So,
that too, that too,
uh,
yeah. And then I have several free events that I run a few times a year. And for example, now I'm about to launch on the 23rd of this month, so on Sunday, something called the Womb Oracle Journey, where I am hosting 7 incredibly wise, wild womb women who have each channeled a very beautiful message from their wombs about the current times, where they provide us with guidance and support for how to live through these challenging times, and what to be aware of, so that we get through these times with more ease and grace. So I'm loving this. I'm hosting this 7-day journey and interacting with these gorgeous women, and it's similar kind of things that I do at different points of the year.
yes.
And those, the information about those is always available on my Facebook site and also through my website.
Well, that's good to know. We'll put your website address in the comments so people can tap in, and I will make sure to share that too on this page. So,
Beautiful.
and because it's a strange times now, yeah, I guess you don't have so much, physical gatherings. And the most of your work is online today, right?
A lot of it is online. A lot of my clients are international ones, so we connect from different parts of the world.
Mm,
I do still hold certain group gatherings as well, and um, kind of semi-retreats as well, at
yeah,
the same time. Yeah, it is so important, despite what the regulations are from governments and so on. It is so important for us to come together and
yeah,
have that physical contact, that face-to-face contact. It is a part of us as being human beings. We need that. And the fact that we're being prevented from doing that is, to me, an absolute crime against humanity. And I don't use those words lightly. It is very damaging to have to live through lockdown after lockdown and be restricted from seeing your loved ones or from your
yeah.
friends and family. And the the damage that we are currently causing to our children, to the younger generations, is incredible. It is really shameful how we are allowing this to happen
Yeah.
as humanity.
And it's not just the children, because I work as a health caretaker, and I can see a lot of older people
Sure.
that are so isolated, even if they have staff working around them, they are so isolated. And the only thing that they actually want is just to get rid of the mask and the plexiglass,
Yeah,
and just be able to see their loved ones close up. So
of course.
I love the concept of internet, because it's broader your view. You are reaching a lot of more people, and you can interact, and like we are talking right now, and that's a marvelous thing. But I can totally agree. It's not like being, one-on-one or in a group together, because that is a totally different, for me, energy to meeting up. And I saw on your page that you did retreats too. So I was just curious about if you were doing them right now, or if you're more focused on the online events. So
Yeah, there is definitely more of a focus on the online events at the moment, but I will be facilitating a retreat in Namibia in mid-June with a beautiful bunch of other healing practitioners. That's kind of like my first retreat after a very long time. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm hoping to rekindle the retreats that I've had to postpone now for the past year and a half. So hopefully looking to doing one in Egypt, if not this year, then
wow.
next year. And I've also had to postpone one in Austria and one in France. So I'm hoping that these will happen,
So
whether
you're
it's in the
going
course of this
European
year.
again, are you?
It looks like it. These are through my beautiful womb shamana connections, and we'd be co-facilitating these sacred spaces in Europe, which would be absolutely gorgeous. But it really just depends on the situation and the kind of travel restrictions that are in place, and the kind of rules and regulations that will surround our ability to travel, because I will absolutely not go along with some of those rules and regulations, even
No.
if that means that I will not be able to travel.
Well, I'm so looking forward to all this restriction to open up again, to get rid of the restrictions, and to get a society to open up. We are not noticing so much here. I actually have to say we have restrictions. We do, and sometimes we wear masks, but it's mostly because you're showing your next kind, your empathy and respect. But we are still going out and eating at restaurants, and it's the huge gatherings with a couple of hundreds of people, or yeah, well, even more than 50. You are not allowed to meet in larger group, but you are actually not, it's not that noticeable, not for me in a way, because I'm still moving in society. But I do realize that that is not the issue all over the world. You can just watch the news, which we are not trying to watch. Um, so I really hope that everything is going to ease up. I heard more and more people are talking about events during the upcoming years. So probably there is something in the collective mind that says that this is going to end and we are going to ease up the restrictions. Can you feel it too? Yeah, obviously. Otherwise, you wouldn't be planning for Europe.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not sure what exactly is going to happen in the next year or so. I mean, we could be seeing an increasing push towards more and more restrictions still for quite some time to come, simply because that is part of a bigger plan where we're talking about this battle between the evil and the good.
True. Yeah.
So it could well be that we're going to see an ongoing push towards increasing restrictions and increasing um, division and polarities in our societies, and that is very deliberately being pushed on us as well by the powers that be. So I'm really not sure what's going to happen, but I really hope at the same time that more and more people are starting to say no, and really starting to rise up in many ways and just not accept this anymore, because it is the people who ultimately have the power, and not the governments that we have always been taught to think have our best interests at heart. And I think what we're seeing more and more is that that might not be the case in large parts of the world. And we're having to find alternative ways of leading our lives, of finding our own paths in the midst of everything. And I know that what I say might sound controversial to many, but it is something that I feel to be the truth in my deepest essence. And it is something that a lot of my colleagues and a lot of my friends are also feeling into quite strongly as well.
Yeah. Well, this is a topic that raise a lot of emotions to discuss. So to be, flexible and holding the balance, we're not going to dive in so much in those topics. But for myself, and I'm saying this with love in my heart, and my heart really goes out to everyone that has been affected of what happened. But it has also been a sort of a blessing, because people had to move inside and question themselves what is about to happen, and what is going on with yourself. So this is surely something that is in a greater plan for human beings, because you have been forced to go inside and actually ask yourself if you are evolving, or if you want to stay put in your paradigms, controlled issues, etc. So I I think it's a blessing that we have been able to confront this year that has passed for us, and it has truly letting the feminine rise up, because I think mostly the women are those who have been more eager to go inside and actually start to review early aspects of thinking, etc. So
Yeah, absolutely. And you expressed that really beautifully. And of course, my heart also goes out to everybody who has truly suffered in the past year and a half, and who have lost loved ones, and who are really struggling at the moment because of everything that's been happening. Absolutely. And I think the greatest challenge that we are being presented at the moment is, to what extent can we continue to stay in love? Despite the division, despite the differences in opinions, despite the very different pathways that humans are choosing now in terms of the future, can we remain in love? Can we stay away from judgment? Can we stay away from criticism and continue to love each other and extend that love even at a deeper level to people all around the world, regardless of the kind of decisions they're making, whether they're making those decisions from an awake place or a conscious place, or a completely unconscious and still a bit of a sleeping state, because a lot of people are still sleeping, and it can be very difficult for those illusions that we have grown up with to break. And that is a very painful process. And a lot of people who have started waking up in the last couple of years or so have had to go through a real grinder, a real difficult journey, because everything they have believed in has simply just crumbled away. And that's not an easy journey at all.
And that is what people are calling the grand awakening.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely.
And it is for everybody. Even if you have been born with gifts or have an interest in the spirituality since you were young, this for me it still was a awakening call last year. So I think we've all been through it in different ways, of course, but in the grand scale. So but I'm holding a higher vision here. I am hoping that we are going to connect somehow during the near future, probably not this year, but moving into 2022, I think society is going to open up. So we are probably going to notice that shift more and more, maybe during the fall. Yeah, let's see. I need to ask you
Holding
about,
space for that.
yeah, well, I'm holding space, definitely. Holding that space. I'm curious about House of Gaia too.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So House of Gaia is my healing and transformation center that is based in Lusaka in Zambia.
Mm.
And it is a beautiful sacred space that is devoted and committed to bringing back sacred feminine wisdom and knowledge. And it really is a space for us to gather, to come together. And that is where at the moment, not very much, but the intention of the place is to really hold retreats there, hold workshops there. I've done various kinds of trainings and workshops there already. And it really is a space that is meant to support the rise of the divine feminine and ground this knowledge and this wisdom that is coming through the divine feminine into a very lived, embodied space.
Yes.
So yeah, it is something that I had been dreaming of for many, many, many years to have my own healing center. And I managed to manifest the funding for it in, when was it now? 2018, I believe, 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
And it is situated on our own plot in Lusaka, and it's just got a beautiful vibe, beautiful energy to it. It's got a garden
Beautiful.
that you can walk in and meditate in, and it's just my baby.
Yeah, well, I can
In
almost feel
many
the energy
ways.
when you're talking about it. It's like heartwarming here. So yeah, I guess it means a lot to you. Of course it
Mm,
does. Because when you're working with energies, so you are anchoring the energies where you are, and if you can hold a place,
mm.
that's the sanctuary of yours. So that is so
Yes.
beautiful. Uh,
And I love the way you use the word sanctuary because I call it my suburban sanctuary.
Suburban sanctuary.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
So, and you use the name manifesting, and I remember that I should be going back to that because we spoke before about um, your online programs and what you can what you are tapping into during those online sessions that you have. And manifesting, I love that word, manifesting,
Hmm.
because now it's the time to manifest everything that you are actually dreaming for or wanting. And of course, you have a future, and if it's not in your future, then maybe it's not going to happen the way you want to make it happen. But in a bigger picture, you can almost manifest anything you want today. So
Yeah.
I love that word, manifest.
Hmm.
And it's surprisingly that not so many people are holding on to their visions. um, And I think that is also a bit that is coming more and more, that you actually have to go inside to to shade off and peel off the things, the layers that you don't doesn't want to keep, and
Mhm.
you start nurturing those values of yours that you
Mhm.
have, and actually holding that vision clear of what you want in your future or in the now, and it will manifest. It will
Hmm.
manifest. Mm.
Yeah, I mean it's all about vibration. It's all about energy, and the important thing is, which can be very tricky for a lot of people, especially in the current times when things are very challenging. But the super important thing there is to be able to maintain that vibration, that energy
Mm.
of your vision. And for that to happen, for you to be able to do that consistently on a daily basis, there are, of course, many layers to that, which would
Yes, of
include
course.
clearing and healing any blocks that you might have
Mm.
around abundance or around having the kind of future that you're dreaming of. Because for a lot of people, that can be scary. And
Yeah.
that can be very difficult to even imagine that, wow, can I actually dream big? Can
Mm.
I actually dare to imagine that my life could be so different from what it is today.
Yeah.
So clearing those kinds of fears and blocks, number one, but then also learning to come back to ease, to a field of gratitude
Yes.
more and more, where you are in a space of relaxation, where your body is not stressed out or in a panic mode, but you are experiencing flow energetically inside of you. And
Mm.
that sense of flow will emanate from you
Yeah.
to the field around you. And that is what universe is picking up on. That is what it will support you in creating the kind of world and life that you are dreaming of.
Yeah, it's so true. I got this picture of someone standing, and there was a fence in front of the person, and you had an apple tree, and you have to remove that fence to get the abundance that the apples is symbol. Yeah,
Yeah,
symbolics. Yes. So,
absolutely.
well, that's beautiful put. Um, is there anything else you want to address? Because I think we have tapped into a lot of things.
We have
Um,
indeed. Yes. Yeah. Maybe I could just briefly mention my podcast,
yeah,
just so
please.
that the listeners, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I knew there was something I missed. Yeah, your podcast,
Yeah,
please. Yeah.
sure. So I host a podcast called Sacred Feminine Power, in which I mainly interview other speakers who, and these could be soul sisters or soul brothers who are stepping into their own sacred feminine power in unique ways in different parts of the world. And on one level, it really is about showcasing their voices and the gifts they offer to the world. But then at the deeper level, it really is also about building community around the divine feminine and supporting the awakening process on our planet. And my intention is for every single interview to kind of lead to insights and awakenings and awareness and goosebump moments
Yeah.
in the listeners as they listen to
Well,
the
they do.
speakers.
They do.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So that's what it really is all about. And I've been
Mm.
so fortunate to network and connect with all these incredible women and men all around the world and
Mm.
bring them on the show and just listen to their amazing life stories, their deep wisdom and their deep experience, lived and embodied experience of the sacred feminine, and how they are walking their paths with this absolute commitment and dedication,
Yeah.
and how they are spreading their gifts to humanity in this lifetime.
Because you have done doing this podcast for a very long time now, right?
It's been just over a year now.
Oh, it's
It started in 2020, so
yeah.
that the
Everything
big
started
year.
in 2020.
Yeah. I mean, it had been in the etheric pipeline for many,
Yeah.
many years, but 2020 was kind of like the culmination point where I felt ready to do it, for me
Yeah.
to step into a bigger place of power myself, to
Yeah.
step into a bigger spotlight in terms of doing this kind of work, and
Yeah.
also felt ready to start reaching out to all these amazing people. So
Yeah.
it's been like a culmination of the work that I've been doing on myself in many ways as well. And it's now a weekly podcast. It comes out every Monday. So it's keeping me busy on top of everything else that I do.
I can
But
imagine that. Yeah.
yeah, but it's an absolute blessing to be able to hold space for these conversations that really come deep from the heart and the womb space,
Yeah.
and hopefully support a lot of women and men in the process as well.
Absolutely. Uh,
Mm.
it's so fun to hear you say that, because I can recognize myself that I'm a year behind you, but but I everything started with 2020. It did. Everything
Mm.
started with 2020, and it's been a huge process from there. Just stepping out from one's comfort zone and fulfilling your dreams and go after visions that you have. So it's a true inspiring to actually have you here and hear you talk about your pathway. So
Mm.
what is
Yeah.
your, for the closing here, what is your future plans? Because you are full of ideas and you are doing a lot of very, very profound and good stuff for a lot of people. You are impacting a lot of souls that are listening to you. And I need to say this again, and I said it off the camera to other people in my community. Your voice has this healing vibration. So when you're talking, you are both soothing and healing, and it's so comfortable that you are like Mother Gaia talking when you
Oh,
are
thank
there.
you.
So I can also imagine that you have a lot of ideas that you want to make reality, make it come true in reality. You,
Absolutely. And thank you so much for your kind words. That means a lot to me. And I've had a very long journey with my voice. I hated my voice for most of my life, actually.
oh, oh,
Absolutely. And it's been a long journey to actually get to a point where I'm comfortable listening to myself and really starting to own the fact that my voice is bringing hope and solace and healing to others.
it
And
is.
it's
Yeah.
it's a it's a big deal for me to hear people say that. So thank you for that. Yeah. But yes, so I do have lots of different
Yeah.
plans. One big thing that I've now ventured into as well is writing. So I'm appearing in a multi-author book, which is gonna be launched in July, on the 2nd of July, called Fearless Presence. And I cannot remember the second part, but the first part is Fearless Presence. And there's I think about 10 authors, maybe even more, who are sharing
Yeah.
stories from their own lives about how they've stepped into their fearless presence, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah, I can imagine
And
that.
yeah, and I know that there's at least another couple of books inside of me just waiting to be written. So that is something that I'm moving towards. I am also looking at creating more programs for women specifically, but also potentially starting to work more with men in the future as well.
Yeah.
And really just wanting to get more and more into that retreat space again, because that is where I really truly come alive and I feel in my space when I'm holding space for others and taking them through, this group process work,
Yeah.
whether it's energy medicine, energy psychology or medicine related work, or more shamanic processes, or
Mm.
whatever it might be. And really just continuing to step more into my power, which means releasing more and more fears around my own visibility, around being seen and being heard on a bigger scale, and more and more owning my gifts, because I have a very long story around self-worth issues. I have
Mm.
felt it's been a challenge to really step into my power.
Mm.
So really allowing myself to own the gifts that I have, and supporting more and more women to a space where they are in their own power. So
Mm.
my mission really is to reach hundreds of thousands of women on our planet and support them to really love themselves exactly as they are, and be in that space of feminine power that I know that we can all get into
Yeah.
when we are supported, when our hands are held, when we are provided with that safe, sacred container for our own growth and evolution.
Yeah. Our progress in the world is never ending. It's always something new
Oh,
that pops up,
absolutely.
and it is so many beautiful things to just waiting there for us to do. And
Yes.
we are all breaking boundaries, stepping out of our comfort zones, and actually making us visible out there.
Yeah.
So by coming on, you are making you visible in our community, and I say our because we are a community that are doing this. So
Hmm.
it's so beautiful to have you here, and to listen to your
Thank you.
future ideas and future visions, and to have been taking part of your history that had led up to this now that we are in.
Hmm.
So thank you again, Amy, for being here. And yeah, thank you for the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Thank you.
Hmm. Thank you, Eva, and thank you for holding this space for us and our listeners. I mean, you're doing such a beautiful job with this, and I love how humble you are all about it, but you are doing incredible work with these
Oh, thank
conversations and
you.
with with your Facebook posts and all of that. I mean, I think you are reaching a lot of people at a very, very deep level. So thank you for
Oh,
that.
thank you.
Mm.
And thank you to everybody who is listening to this, either in this now or in the future, because this is going to be a post that is still on the Heart to Heart Facebook page. So it's there for you to listen to, and hope you enjoy this as much as I have. So thank you again, Amy, and thank you for listening, and we will talk to each other in 2 weeks again. So bye-bye. Thank you.